Hello, hello. Whoops. I don't know if anybody is going to have seen my announcement that I was going to go live. I am so hyper and I'm going to be on a roll. So hopefully, if people come in, I pay attention because this is just um, unbelievable to me. And okay, so what I was doing earlier today is I was working on um, Paul O'Keefe and his mother's um, testimonies because of the differences. Because you know how Peg said she just was not showed up knocking at the door, and she really did seem put out with that. But she had called previously. I thought I remembered Paul saying she called to see could she come by. And anyway, there was just a few other things that I was thinking of, so I went ahead and did the what's the word? And hmm, my brain. So anyway, that's what I was working on. And then um, I was listening to LTL Media, and he was talking about this creator on YouTube, and I've seen a few of his videos where this man has actually spent his own money buying Lexus tail lights and then damaging them, tearing them up, trying to see what type of force it would take to break a Lexus taillight into 47 pieces. And then he even bought an arm, and it was a fake arm, uh, but and then he did a test with that, and I thought that was really interesting, and it was just you know wow. I mean, we all have the same, or most of us all feel the same, that he, in fact, was not hit by a car and that his arm was, in fact, torn the heck up by a dog. Because any of us that have dogs or have been bit by dogs, or we can tell that. I mean, it wasn't a biting tail light. We all know that. But see, I'm so hyper, and so he was talking about the fact that, and I didn't even think of this. But then I don't live up north, but I did grow up on the beach, and we had a lot of sand. So we were always having to wash our cars. Your cars would rust. I'm sure that they've gotten better over time with how they do them. I haven't lived on the coast in 40, close to 50 years. Holy cow, I'm telling my age. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so the thing is he was talking. I'm sorry, I'm all wrapped up. He was talking about the housing of the taillight and the fact that it should have been dirty. After everything it had gone through, it should have been dirty. And all of a sudden, I was just my brain, because I've done so many um, I've done so many screenshots, and I've looked at so many things from just different angles trying to think up stuff, and I thought, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. The car wasn't dirty. The black SUV looks like it has basically been washed, right?" I mean I mean, here, let me how do I do this? Hmm, wish there was a pause button on here. Let me see how I do this so that it's not. Um, Just bear with me. Um, I was just so I was just so, I don't know how to say it. I just automatically was just like, "No, there's no way," because I've looked and looked and looked and looked for anything to step out and say, "Hey, wow." And, there's a few things that may bother me, and I'm thinking, "Yeah, well, yeah, it's not that big of a deal." And, "Oh, somebody's already come up with that." And so I just don't go over it because I've done videos before that after I've done my videos, someone's come in, like, right after me and done one, and it was basically on the same thing I did, and it was like, wow, because they kind of took the credit for that idea. So, um, and folks don't watch me much, so I'm not very well known. I'm very sporadic when I can come on, and although we've almost figured out how to have that be different. It it is what it is. I mean, so anyway, let me see. I've almost got these. I'm gonna pull me up some photos, and I'm gonna show you what I mean if it opens up. Okay. All right. So I took the photos the day the young lady that was on the stand that processed the car, and the car's not dirty. The car literally is not dirty. And my husband, who, he doesn't pay attention to any of this and he doesn't really care. But I said, come look at this. Just come look at this. Now, this right here is the back end. And we know that a glass was broken supposedly at some time. And so, okay, fine. We've got that one. Now, um, and then I'm gonna but the car is clean. I've got a picture of just and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how can this be so?" I mean, I just don't understand. Did they run it through a car? They had to have washed it. They had to have washed it. There's no way, absolutely no way that this car would be that clean. Even though I don't live where it snows, I I even asked ChatGPT a couple of scenarios, and I'll share those with you. I mean, I'm like, "Whoa." I'm just, like, so wide awake, and, whoops, that's not it. Let me see. Share screen, window. Alright, here's another one. Now, see down here? Yeah, it's dirty. This is a black vehicle. Look at how clean the tire oils are. Look at how this should have white spots all the heck over it. This car should be covered in white spots. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And the other thing that gets me is when Brennan was giving his rendition of what he thinks happened, it really cracked me up listening to how the car pulled forward 35 feet and then it went backwards 70 feet and the tires were spinning and the way he was doing all that because I was thinking, gee, you sound like you were on the coast stuck in a sandbar, okay? I mean, you don't sound like so. All right, here's another. Now this, I think a lot of the little dots I'm seeing are from the camera because you can see that the car isn't showing a lot. So I just think it's from the camera. So I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. So it's hard to see. It's hard to know if that's what this is. from her light or what. But even so, where's all the specks around here? Where are the spots? Where are these spots? Show me the spots. Somebody show me the spots. I want to find the spots because there's no spots. How can this be? How can there be no spots? And then there is this one. Oh, hold on one second. I got to get to I'm so hyped up. Okay, percent. Oh, this one. All right. Look at that car. Where's all the spots on the car? Where's all the dirt? Now it does look like up under the rear well is dirty, and it does look like it's dirty right here, but that could be from many different things, right? The point is, look at the shine on this car, would you please? Do you see the shine on the car? Have I lost my mind? So I could share with you the gentleman's website. Um, Here, actually, I'll find his where he's talking about it. Trial. The thing that gets me is I keep trying to figure out, you know, everybody's been trying to figure out why Brennan took this case because almost anybody that sees it, it's over 90% that are like, oh my gosh, um, there's no way. And I think the reason that he was able to take this job and do it with passion and, all the show playing, because he does some definite show playing for the any cameras that are around, though he blames that on the defense. But if you dig into it, Brennan absolutely, positively hates, absolutely hates the FBI. Why does he hate the FBI, you might ask? Well, because I think Brennan just had such a thing for Whitey Bulger, and he feels that Whitey Bulger got the the rotten end of the stick, and he feels that the FBI, the government, he says the government, although it's okay for him right now to be presenting or representing the government because in this particular case the government is trying to do something dirty, underhanded, and um, in the meantime he gets to call out and say that the FBI is once again, dirty or whatever his thing is. These are just my opinions. They're no facts. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a police person. I'm just an old nana that lives in Texas. But what I saw today, my light bulb went off because are you kidding me? This car is clean. Now, we all feel that the taillight was busted in the Sally Port and then ran out to the McAlberts. I mean, after all, nobody saw. I'm surprised. Why didn't they ask, Carrie Roberts, who spotted a cell phone, if she also saw some red taillight pieces? Because I mean, she was right there. And I'm about sick of listening to people condemning Karen Reed for what she may say, in an interview, for what she may say in the documentary, for what she may say when she was screaming, yelling, and cursing at John because she was mad. Because what they're trying to do is make her out to look like just this mean, ugly, hateful woman, and she's not. She's far from it. Listen to the text messages, people. Listen to what they're fighting over. They're fighting. Basically, what it boils down to is John was jealous because the kids and Karen Reed had a much more playful relationship. Listen to the text messages. Who has raised children that can't see that? There's always a parent that has to be the bad guy. And then there's the parent that lets them get by with stuff. In my situation, I had to be the bad guy. And my husband would forget, or better yet, say he forgot when I would punish the children. And usually, punishments for me were grounding, taking things away, things like that. Because I think everybody has a right to spank their kids. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. But I happen to have been raised by somebody whose favorite thing was to brag about how far across the room she could backhand me. And sad thing is, looking back now, I mean, we didn't have CPS or any of that stuff anyway back then, not 60 plus years ago, to help anyone that was being mistreated in their home. But anyway, I don't go there because I'm not sure. I've always been afraid that maybe that type of monster could, live within me, which is silly because no. But anyhow, back to so my husband, I would ground the kids and I'd come home and I'd say, "Where's, so and so?" And he'd go, "Oh, they're over, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? They're grounded," things like that. So if you were listening to those messages, in all honesty, their number one problem, in my opinion, was the children. And not because the children were an inconvenience, not because they didn't love the children, but because listen to what John said. He's always got to be the bad guy. Listen to what Karen said. I think you need some space. I need to not be there so much. All four of us. It causes problems. And at one point, she even said, "I'm afraid to come over to the house because basically the kids and I would start talking and having a good time, and you're going to get mad." Wow. So those text messages today, oh my gosh, I was going to go over them because don't they make her look like such a witch, y'all? And the other thing is, Peggy O'Keefe, my heart breaks for Peggy O'Keefe. I lost 3 babies before they were ever born. So I don't know that gut-wrenching pain that Peggy will live with for the rest of her life with 2 children that she raised and that they grew up into adults that have been taken before her. My heart bleeds for any parent that loses a child, no matter what the age. I mean, no, that has nothing to do with my issue over this trial. I'm enraged, and I was enraged during the first trial because I kept looking at the O'Keefes, and I kept wondering, when were they going to get mad? When were they going to see that they've been being lied to this entire time? It was also pretty evident that I don't think Peggy O'Keefe was that fond of Karen to begin with. And I think that after listening to, but now and you left him there. We know she said that because um, that's all she thought about was, and you left him there? Well, I'm not real sure what you're supposed to do with a 40-something-year-old man that just wants to go continue partying, right? What was she supposed to do? Bring him home? Anyway, this young man right here, it's Be in Trouble 31. That's his YouTube handle. Let me get this going and we'll see. Absolute proof tell I was supposed to. Okay, this is the one. I'm going to share. I'm going to.
Vehicle in the snow, in the salt.
All right. This guy, you need to go and watch his channel.
For all of us that live in snow country, knows when you drive your vehicle in the snow, in the salt, what happens and what gets on the back of your car. I'll give you a little hint. It's little circles of dried salt, calcium chloride, salt brine. When you live in a snow climate, right before a storm, they coat the streets with salt. And then every time a snowplow goes through, they put even more salt on the road. And when you drive in snow, the wind that goes around your vehicle, underneath it and over it, it creates a vortice in the back of your vehicle. It's kind of like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks the snow up and it deposits the snow onto the back of your vehicle. I'm not talking just a little area. The snow actually coats the whole back of your car. Every nook and cranny gets salt in it, and water, and ice, snow. And when that stuff dries, it leaves those little circles of salt. Just like right here. Now, Karen's vehicle has salt spots all over it, all over the windows, all over the paint, all over everything. Look at the water spots. They're all over her car, except for the inside of the tail light. That is impossible. It cannot be that way. There's no way. Where are the water spots? There is no water spots at all inside of the taillight. That is impossible. Impossible. It cannot happen. There's only one way that this is missing. The lens was on it in the sally port. Except for one area. Our taillight. Insides have nothing. There is no salt spray inside of our taillight whatsoever. None of this has any salt in it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how could that be? Well, there's only one way that could happen. The vehicle was in the sally port when the taillight lens was broke off. Now, if there was a little crack or a couple of cracks and maybe a couple small pieces missing, there wouldn't have been that much intrusion. But
I mean, can y'all believe that? Look at what he's showing. I'm live. So that should be all over her black car, right? I mean, this is where I started thinking about how dirty, I mean, how clean the car was when I was watching this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So let's watch a little more.
her whole tail light is missing, and she was driving in the snow. She drove that night.
Mhm.
She drove that next morning,
Mhm.
several times that next morning.
Mhm.
So it would have covered the whole back of her vehicle, her tail light, the insides of her tail light, the outsides of her tail light. The windows are covered. Everything is covered except for one thing. You guessed it, the tail light. I'll show the pictures, but you can see all of this is perfectly clean. Now we know they didn't take the tail light out and clean it for her. We just know that. So what happened? How could that be? Well, there's only one possible way in the whole world that could happen. The car was in the sally port. The snow was melting off of it.
Mhm.
And since they were more worried about getting the evidence out into the yard, they didn't have time to think logically of what would happen. It just totally slipped someone's mind of what happens when salt dries and water spots. Because,
Okay.
well, for one, they're not that smart. And I've been saying all this time that if they keep going with this sham trial, more stuff's going to come out. And I'm tired of hearing Hank's mouth. I'm tired of hearing all these people lying. I'm tired of this whole charade. I'm tired of this corrupt, biased judge. I'm tired of the whole thing. And now, here is the ending of their beginning. And I really hope people go to jail after this. This trial should be stopped immediately. It should be dismissed. Next, we should be having a trial for all of the police officers that were involved in this.
Amen.
There's
Amen.
no taking this back.
Amen.
They can't change the evidence.
Mm-mm.
There is no way that her light would look pristine on all of the cameras and all of the footage that they took. I've been sitting on this for a long time. That's what a tail light looks like when it hasn't had any snow in it. See the pristine colors of it? Sorry, my fingernails have epoxy underneath them from fixing this to the.
But anyway, I did not go back through and dig up the pictures of the tail light itself in the testimony, but I was more I was really into that car because I thought her car should have been filthy, just filthy. And I mean, wash it. Why would I think they'd wash it? Well, I don't know. Maybe because their hands were all over everything. But her car is clean, kind of like that Sally porch. When they drove her car in, duh, it was the second time because there was already an outline of her car in the Sally port. But this Hank Brennan can't get around. Jen McCabe can't lie it gone. Proctor and all his buddies can't say that car should have been filthy. And if it's not filthy, why would they have washed it anyway? And the back, yeah, the back's a little dirty. But then they also say that a glass was thrown at it and that one piece of hair was on it and all this other stuff. Well, huh. So let me just tell you, I just I have too many things that can just drive me crazy sometimes. And so I even asked ChatGPT. Um, I asked ChatGPT. I said, "Are you ready, guys?" I said, "Would a car that had been driven in a snowstorm be clean once the snow melted if it was parked in a garage?" Nope. If a car had been driven in a snowstorm, it would definitely not be clean after the snow melted, even if parked in a garage. Here's what would likely happen: salt and road grime from the snow covered street would splatter all over the undercarriage, wheel wells, lower body, and rear of the car. When parked in a garage, the snow would melt, but it would leave behind dirt, salt, residue, sand, and grime on the car surfaces. In many cases, water streaks and dried salt marks would be even more noticeable as the melted snow dries out indoors. So if a car looks squeaky clean after supposedly been driven through a storm, especially without any streak splatters or dried salt residue, that's a red flag. Either it was washed afterwards or not driven in the storm at all. Okay. Now, the second scenario that I gave, because like I say, I grew up on the coast in Texas down there with a bunch of sand, so we didn't know snow. So the next question I did was, if a car had accumulated snow on it from overnight and then was driven in a snowstorm, then parked in a garage, would it be clean when the snow melts? Still no. And in that scenario, it would probably be even dirtier. Here's a breakdown of what would realistically happen. Snow accumulated overnight. That snow likely had dirt, tree debris, or even pollutants in it, depending on where the car was parked, especially near roads and trees. Then, driven in a snowstorm, that car would get hit with slushy, salty water and road grime kicked up from its own tires and other cars, especially around the wheel wells, lower doors, trunk, and back window. Then, parked in a garage, the snow would melt off, but all the dirt, grime, sand, and salt would stay stuck to the body, windows, tires, and undercarriage. Bottom line, a car in that scenario would have streak spots, grime buildup around the tires and bumpers, and possibly even dried salt rings. It would definitely not be clean, and anyone claiming otherwise is either mistaken or not telling the whole story. So that was what ChatGPT pulled up for me. I believe ChatGPT. Anyway, I'm so fired up that I had to stop. I had to stop. I was doing my other video and that was it. There was no way. I didn't even care what it looked like. But y'all, you need to go to his channel. I've got to figure out how to link channels, but you need to go to his channel because his channel is B, the letter B, N, the letter N, the word trouble 31. Okay. And he has got a lot of videos where he's done all kinds of things with the Lexus taillight. And this video that I showed you a little bit of, that's just a small portion. Before this video, um, the video right before this video is the one where he shows the arm. And you really should watch it to see how many pieces the arm breaks the taillight into, if any, and what damage, if any, is on the arm. But kudos to this young man for taking his time, effort, and money to do this. It brilliant, and I'm with him. These cops and this judge and that DA all need to be held accountable for what they've done to Karen Reed. One way or another, it's going to come out somehow, some way, before this trial is over. there's going to be things that you can't overcome. And I kind of think this might be just one of them because how do you overcome this? I don't know. I don't know. So y'all have a good evening. I'm gonna work on those videos on for the first couple days of trial. I wanted to have a video out. So I hope you have a great day. If you stop by and see it, I hope you enjoy it. And until I see you again, free Karen Reed and justice for John O'Keefe. And I'm tired of people saying that John O'Keefe has been forgotten in this because every person that's free Karen Reed is also justice for John O'Keefe. So you guys miss what Carrie Roberts, who goes into a grand jury and testifies that you heard something that you did not hear simply because somebody said it was said. Help put Karen Reed in the defendant's seat. How do you live with that? I'm not sure. I am not sure, but you should feel so much guilt for what you've done that you should be willing to make it right. And other than that, I don't know what else to say. But you cops, you dirty DAs, and you corrupt people in the judicial system, I hope you get your comeuppance, and I hope I get to hear about it. So, adios.